Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVey, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today, our guest is Dr. Sharon Prentice. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie. I've been looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too. I have not interviewed anyone yet with your particular experience, so this is really exciting. Would you mind? Can I call you Sharon?
Oh
Is
gosh,
that
yes,
okay?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about your background and who you are?
I am okay. I'm a psychologist. Started out Western trained psychology, and it just wasn't enough. My patients needed more. So I started looking into some of the alternative modes of psychology. And so I've added so many of those to my program. I started in medical school and realized that I was learning more about what pill to prescribe
Mhm.
than I was what type of counseling somebody needed. So I switched over to graduate school. So today, it depends on what the person needs when they come in, whether it's just your usual counseling that you get from Western society, or if it's theta healing, which I put in. That's an energy healing. We do a lot of sacred word meditation. There's all kinds of different avenues that I take with people. I do a lot of hospice work. A huge portion of my patient population are terminally ill and their families. So I work at hospice a lot. That really in private practice is what keeps me the most busy.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I am very curious, what could have possibly gotten you interested in these supernatural, metaphysical kinds of topics?
One thing in particular, actually two things. My life was going along the way it's supposed to go along, just forever nice, calm, relaxed.
Hmm.
And then my firstborn died. And when she died in my arms. And that
Mm.
was when I realized that if there was a God, I didn't know him. He didn't know me. Everything I had ever learned, we were a church family, raised in the church.
Mm.
And I realized that everything I'd ever been taught, everything I'd ever been told, it just wasn't real, because this God that I begged and pleaded and bargained with,
Mhm.
absolute silence. So when my daughter died, I went on a rampage against life in general, against creation, against God, if there was one. And at the same time, my husband was getting sick. He was getting very, very ill. He eventually died, and at that moment of his death is what changed my life forever, when I had what's called a shared death experience. A shared
Okay.
death experience is almost identical to a near death experience, except for the fact that the person that is having the experience has nothing wrong with them. I say they're invited along to glimpse the aftermath of physical death. So that's what a shared death experience is. And that's what happened with me and my husband. And so when all of that was over, I knew that I had to do something to find out exactly what this was. So much research on my part. When I say research, I'm talking about talking to priests and monks. And, I went and talked to a bunch of Buddhist monks, and I researched everything I could possibly research to find out what this was, um, because it changed every single thing about my life.
Wow. How long ago was this?
My husband died in 1980, so it's been a lot of years. Yeah.
1980.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's I'm so sorry for these losses. This is kind of a lot. Your child, how long between the passing of your child to the passing of your
7 years.
husband?
7 years. He was very sick for all those 7 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
nobody knew what was wrong with him. Nobody knew.
oh,
Yeah, he was in the military, and after my daughter died, we were transferred to San Diego because he was going through SEER training, which is survival, evasion, resistance, escape. That's what
oh,
Navy SEALs have to go through.
okay.
He got very, very sick there. Nobody knew what was wrong with him, and it
Huh.
didn't change. So he ended up having pancreatic cancer,
And they
and
couldn't
that
figure it out, huh?
could not figure it out. Couldn't
Man.
figure it out. So during those 7 years, there was so much unresolved grief and so much pain and worry and fear and, you know, all those things that go into not knowing. And there was no way to solve any of it.
Oh my gosh. So you did not seek any help for the grief, or
No.
did you realize that you were
Um,
suffering and grieving and
I just called it rage.
oh,
You know, you rage at the heavens, rage at creation, rage at everything.
were you practicing also? I know you
No,
said you grew up that way, but you didn't as an adult practice.
no, no.
Okay.
I
But
had
you,
fallen. Go
oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was wondering though, but you had these beliefs that there was an unconditionally loving God out there somewhere?
I
Or
did.
you did, okay.
I did. And I lost every bit of it when my
Yeah.
daughter died. I mean, every single thing I had ever learned just went right out the window. And I know that was based on just the most incredible grief that, you cannot imagine that type of grief unless you have, been there. And there wasn't anybody there to help me because we were moving around a lot in the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who are you going to talk to?
Right.
I didn't know, so we just did the best we could do. And then when he was at SEER training, I was by myself. I was alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long was he there?
At SEER training,
Yeah.
he was there for about a month. Um, and I would just get in the car and wander, because I
Oh
didn't want to be around
gosh.
anybody. Didn't want to be around anybody. Didn't want to talk to anybody. Didn't want to see anybody.
Yeah.
I figured if this is the way life was, I didn't want any part of it.
Oh yeah.
It was hard, and being with him when he was home was even more difficult because I would look at him and I would see her, and he would look at me and he would see her,
Mm,
and we resented each other, we blamed each other, all of the things that people do that
mhm,
you
mhm.
really had no basis in fact, but we did it.
Yeah.
That's how we tried to survive.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
difficult.
And so he gets sick and comes home and it gets worse and worse and they still can't figure it out.
They can't figure it out, but what they did say was that there was no way. He was supposed to be a military advisor out in the field, okay, in country, out in the field. And there was no way, because if he had been captured, which a lot of military advisors were, he would have most assuredly died. He would not have been able to take care of himself, and no one was going to take care of him because nobody knew what was
Sure.
wrong with him anyway.
Right.
So he didn't go. And so instead, what they did is they sent him on a 9-month cruise. You know how the military sends people out all the time, and he ended up over in Yugoslavia or someplace like that, on a ship with bunches of other shipmates. No one for him to talk to except the little medic on board.
Mm,
Of course, then I was alone too. So it was just really brutal. When he finally came home from that, I took one look at it, and
mm.
it was absolutely just horrendous. So I called my dad, who happened to be in the Air Force, and he started writing some letters and talking to people that he knew at the Pentagon and places like
Mm,
that.
okay.
And so Steve was retired on medical retirement because he couldn't function. And a year after he was medically retired, he
Okay.
died.
Okay. Yeah, that's and would you mind, if it's okay, and you don't have to share it at this moment, but can you take us into that experience with that you call a shared death
Sure,
experience?
absolutely. Yeah, because that is what, it's funny. I tell people all the time, because people will say, why you? Why did you have this experience? Why,
Yeah,
what was it about
absolutely.
you? And
Yeah.
that always makes me laugh because there was absolutely nothing special about me except for the fact that I hated the very concept of God. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
If I made fun of people, Julie. I made
Oh,
fun of
okay. So
people.
you were really
Um,
raging.
oh,
Okay. I
big time.
gotcha.
And Steve, that was my husband's name. Everyone knew what was happening with him. I didn't want to admit it, but I knew it was, and I got these control features that were just totally out of whack. And then the day that he died, the tumor had broken up, And he had a series of 12 strokes where he couldn't see me, couldn't hear me, couldn't nothing. And that was actually the first time I was able to touch him in like 6 months, because every nerve ending in his body was on fire. And so
Oh,
when he told me he couldn't feel me, I crawled up behind him in the bed and I just talked to him, and I slept and I talked to him and I slept, because I just knew that he could hear me. I just knew he could hear me,
huh.
and I honestly think when people say, why you, what I say is really two reasons. I think God had had enough of me arguing and making fun of people and just going out of my way
Mm,
to say anything evil that I could possibly say.
mm.
And I think Steve knew that I wouldn't survive it.
Oh,
He
okay.
died too. And so I think when he died, it was one of these things where he said to God, or whatever name you want to call it, you got to show her something. You got to throw her a bone. Okay. She
Oh,
has to know what's going on here
yeah.
so she can get through this. And I honestly think that's exactly what happened, because at the moment of his death, it's kind of the same thing. Are you okay?
Yeah, it's touching. Sorry, I don't know. It's touching me right now.
Well, it was, I was in the room with him. My parents were there, and our oncologist was there, who was a very good friend of ours by then. And so much happened in the 15 minutes that actually led up to his death, that things that were absolutely medically impossible. And everyone in the hospital was hearing about this and coming to his room. And all I wanted was for everybody to go away,
Yeah,
because I just wanted to be with him.
sure.
And at the moment of his death, a couple of things happened that, like I said, were absolutely medically impossible, because he opened his eyes, which he wasn't supposed to do.
Wow.
My oncologist let out a few little choice words, which I won't say on here, because he'd never seen this before, you know. And
Okay.
Steve looked right at me, and I know he saw me. I know he saw me. And so what happened was, I thought I had won, those control issues, right? I'm going
Mm,
to beat death. I'm going to beat God. He's going to live because I'm going to will it.
yeah.
So when he opened his eyes, I knew I had won. And so we were like this, we were face to face. And I took in a deep breath. You know how you do when you're like, ah, I did this,
Yes.
it
Yes.
was one of those. And I breathed in and he
Hmm.
breathed out at the same time. And I could feel his breath just going through me, and then when I opened my eyes, his had gone dark. So I knew that I hadn't won anything. I knew that he had died. And at that moment, on the near death experience, people talk about how the room starts to change. And, yeah, the floor I was standing on, those old linoleum hospital floors,
Yes. Hmm.
just started to go away, and the ceiling started to turn to mist. And I'm thinking, this is what's going on here.
Hmm.
What's happening? And my oncologist came running over to me because he saw something was happening. And he was going to make sure I wasn't having a heart attack or something. I
Oh,
wasn't. But the interesting thing was the stars. That's why the book's called Becoming Starlight, because a billion stars just seemed to take over the room.
that's
And
amazing.
it was, I tell people that I knew those stars. There was a presence in there that I recognized.
Huh.
And I went right into it. There was no fear. I went right into those stars. And I have said that I didn't know where stars ended and I began, or where I began and the stars ended, because it was all one. And within that starlight, I was home. I knew I had been to that place before. I knew I'd been there before. I recognized it. I felt it. And it was, imagine going through every human emotion that you can possibly go through, from the rage, the anger, the grief, the pain, the hurt, and then take it through all the good ones. Okay, the joy, the peace, all of that. Go through all of them instantaneously to this place of
Hmm.
absolute calm, where everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
There's not a word for it. Dr. Moody,
Yeah.
Raymond Moody, is a good friend of mine. I just, I
Oh, I
him.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I love him. And he and I have talked about, that's why he wrote the foreword for Starlight.
Okay.
So many conversations about this over the years because I didn't know what had happened. I'd never even heard, seriously, I'd never even heard of a near-death experience. We're talking 1980. Who talked about that stuff back then?
Yeah.
If you did, they admitted you to some, mental ward, because there was definitely something wrong with you. And so Raymond explained it all. And then when I told him, it's home, I know it's home.
Mhm.
And when Steve was there because I saw him. And the interesting thing was, he was a big man. He was 6'4", weighed over 200 pounds. But when he died, he didn't even weigh 90 pounds because you know what cancer does to people.
Whoa. Oh my God.
And he was there and he was smiling and he was healthy. And you know what, Julie? It was okay. It was okay. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel grief. I didn't even have to touch him, because he was where he was supposed to be. And everything, the world was the way it was supposed to be.
Everything felt right.
Everything felt right. And it was just, that one experience right there is what changed my entire life's path. Because when it was over, that was when I knew medical school wasn't for me. Okay, because a lot of Steve's doctors were actually my instructors.
Oh,
And I told them all, no, this is not for me. I can't do this. Matter of fact, our oncologist who went through this whole thing with us, he just sat there with his head at the bottom of the bed, realizing finally what was happening. And he just cried. He just sobbed because he'd never seen it before. And it changed his life too.
what did he witness?
What was happening to me. Okay. And that he knew something was happening to me. So he kind of figured, okay, Steve just died. There's something going on here with her.
Right.
She's okay. But my blood pressure had gone way, way down. My respirations had gone way, way down.
I was going to say, what were
Yeah.
they seeing in your
That's
physical body? What was happening with
Yeah.
your physical body?
That's what they were seeing.
Were you on the bed or?
I was on the side of Steve's bed. I was on the left side of the bed, standing there. I was just standing there.
You were standing through this whole thing?
I was standing through the whole thing, just standing.
Okay.
I tell people, and I've actually written this, that I have no earthly idea what was powering me to stand. I have absolutely no earthly idea.
And when you took off, you said you took off into the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the you that took off? Would you say it's your spirit?
Yeah, it wasn't. My physical body never went anywhere.
Did you completely forget about your physical body at that moment?
No, I knew it was there.
Oh, you knew it. Okay.
I knew it was there.
Okay.
And the interesting thing was I knew that I belonged where I was at the moment in Starlight, in this place, but I also knew I wasn't going to be allowed to stay.
You knew. Okay.
I knew that. I knew that.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I knew Steve was going to stay. And toward the end of this experience, he actually did. He was, and once again, was it a physical body? I'm not going to say it was. It was, what was I seeing?
Yeah.
What was I seeing? I knew it was him, but what was it? He was dead on the bed.
His physical container.
Yeah.
But his.
And at one point, he backed off, smiling at me. And do you know, I didn't even say goodbye, and neither did he.
Huh.
We didn't need to. Isn't that weird?
Did you talk to one another, communicate?
I said to him, I can see you. I know that sound, you'd think you would come out with something so earth shattering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I remember was, I can see you. It was so natural.
Okay.
And so the way it was supposed to be, that's what fit.
So would you say you felt more natural there than you do in your physical body?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There is absolutely no doubt about that. I started doing a lot of research with mystics and learning about the heart of hearts and what's actually in that heart of hearts and the co-joining of our divinity and our humanity.
Oh, okay.
It's so important. And that's one of the things that I do now, especially with my terminally ill patients. They're the ones that I actually wrote the book for. Because there comes a time The last chapter is called Should I Be Afraid? And the reason I wrote that chapter is because there comes a time with every single patient I've ever had, and that includes their families, that have said, should I be afraid? And I would say, let me tell you a story. And I would tell them my story. And then they would all say, could you write that down so when we're not with you,
Yeah,
we have something to refer to? So I would keep
absolutely.
notebooks, and then finally I said, yeah, I'm just going to write it. I'm just going to write the book, so that I don't have to keep writing it every time this happens.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
can we go back to the stars? What's your impression? What was that? What were all those stars?
Creation and presence.
Creation and presence. Okay.
Presence. I knew, how when you feel someone near you or in the room, you just know it was that. And I recognized it. I knew it. I felt it. I'd been there before.
Okay.
Whatever this force was, it knew me. And I knew, I'm going to use it because there was no gender that I could really speak of,
Please share anything else you want to about the experience, but I am curious how this changed your idea of God.
It changed everything.
You know?
It absolutely changed everything, because I knew when my daughter died that what I had believed in wasn't real. I at least was taught, be the good little girl and everything's going to be fine. Do what's right all the time,
Yeah,
and everything's going to go along wonderful. And I
right.
was taught that God is this vengeful, he throw lightning bolts at you if you say a bad word, that was who I was. All of that was the farthest thing from the truth,
Mm,
because what I found, like I said, I knew it.
mhm.
And you're never going to hear me use the words unconditional love.
Oh,
People
okay.
use that all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
This was so far beyond that.
Okay. Okay.
So far beyond that I could just be.
Mm,
Just be. I know
mm,
there was no judgment. There was nothing. So when this was over, and I've talked to Raymond about this, and I've talked to all of my patients about this. Do I have faith? No. Do I believe? No. I know.
yeah.
There's a difference.
Yes.
There's a difference. So, faith and believing is based on something that you're hoping for.
Hmm. Yeah.
Knowing is, and so that's why I do what I do. I had not planned to go into this type of work. And I
Yeah.
have to admit this, it was very selfish on my part in the first place when I first started it, because I thought if I'm around people who are dying, I can maybe hitchhike a ride back, and go back again,
Like do another shared death experience?
do another. Yeah, it
Okay.
never happened. But, that didn't last very long, because I started to realize how much my story could help people, how much
Yeah.
fear I could take away from them, how
Mm,
much hope I could give to them,
yeah.
because so many people are afraid they're just going to disappear into nothingness, or they're scared to death because of
Punishment.
something they may have done or said, or the punishment, the judgment,
Mhm.
And then of course there are well, what about Hitler, and what about this, what about that? I don't have the answers to that. God's going to sort it out.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
he didn't feel the need to tell me, the way he's going to handle things.
Yeah.
But coming away with that knowing, I knew I could bring that to people.
Yeah,
And
that's fantastic.
bring that-
How long have you been working in hospice?
oh my gosh, uh maybe 25 years.
Okay.
25 years. Before that was mostly private practice and
Mm,
referrals, because when you're working through a hospital system too, the nurses, the doctors, or whatever, don't really have as much training as we would like them to have when it comes to death and dying. People are always amazed when they find out what isn't included in the Western model
mm,
of training, you know? And so there was a group of us that they would refer out. So I was by referral only for a very long time. And that's kind of how you get into home hospice and then actually the building, the physical buildings of hospice. And I love it. And people say, how can you love it? I love it because that's where it happens, Julie. That's where the love is. And that's where the everything that we are supposed to be happens right there.
I've heard that before. I know others who work in hospice, and it's like, it's the most beautiful thing,
It is.
And I can understand that.
It really is. I keep notebooks and pencils
Yeah.
next to the beds of my patients, and I tell their family, write down everything that you hear them say. Because that's one of the ways that we kind of monitor how close death is.
Okay. So what kinds of things do they say when they're getting
They talk to people, they have conversations to people who have already died. They say names, they say it is a conversation like we're having where they're answering questions and they're, oh my gosh, hi, how are you? I mean, it's
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is beyond amazing. So they write it down. And I can't tell you how many times people have called me and said, you are not going to believe who this person was or who they were talking to, or, because they do the research to find out, was this just hallucination or was this real?
Yeah.
Most of the time it's real. Most of the time it's real. Hospice is truly a very, very spiritual place.
So what is happening? Do you think I've heard different theories. Are they going through a transitional period of transitioning from physical to the spiritual? Is that what's going on during the process of dying, I guess, the physical dying?
Yeah, that's what you said just then, the process of dying. That is one of my goals, is to help people understand that the process of dying and the actual moment of death are two totally different things. And what I have seen and what I believe is that the soul starts to disconnect from the physical body about 3 days before.
Oh.
Okay. Because it doesn't need it anymore. Doesn't need it anymore. And it's during those times that all of these things start happening.
Oh, okay.
The process of dying, that's what everybody is really afraid of, because they don't separate out the process from the actual moment of death. The process can be very painful. It can be
Physically.
grievously painful. Yeah, because it's a physical, but the actual moment of death, and I can say this after 25 years experience of this, I have never seen an actual moment of death that was painful. Never seen it, because the soul knows. And so many people come to get you, it's amazing watching this. The saddest thing to me, I never let any of my patients die alone. If I can help it, if I have 2 or 3, I'm flitting back and forth, but I don't let them die alone. And the saddest thing to me is when people are alone, when family doesn't come for whatever the reason may be, because this is their last chance to say goodbye.
Are you convinced that they do have loved ones or guardian angels or guides or someone non-physical with them
Yes,
at death?
absolutely, I am there, and nobody will ever be able to take that away. I absolutely know it. To go back to that, to Steve's passing, it was 2 days, 4 days, I'm sorry, it's 4 days before he died, that he had a dream. And he wasn't sure exactly who he was, but he thought it was his great grandfather, who he knew, standing at the end of his bed. And his great grandfather told him that he was going to die when he was asleep. So Steve wouldn't sleep. He wouldn't go to sleep. And the only way we got him to go to sleep was when my dad came in, because my dad and Steve were very, very close. And my father just ordered him, go to sleep, son, so then he would. But that was something that I didn't understand at the time, because I'd never experienced anything like that. And I didn't know what it was. I thought, what's going on here?
Gotcha.
Now I totally understand. And if I'd have known back then, I'd have been saying, what's he saying to you? Who, what's he look like? What's he,
Yes, yes.
you know? But I do believe
Wow.
that there's somebody there for all of us, just to help the transition. I really do. That joining, I call it that co-joining of our divinity and our humanity. Um, we're never alone. We just don't
Hmm.
think about it or want to feel it because so many people are afraid of it.
Have you met others now who have had the shared death experience
Yes,
like you?
yes, I have. I have so many people. You know, I say all the time that I think just about everybody walking has had some type of experience. They just don't know what it is. They're afraid to talk about it. They don't want people to think they're, wacky. And most of all, because they're afraid to share any type of experience like this, so they, be judged. But I've met so many people, especially once Starlight came out. It just flew all over the place, and people were sending me emails saying, guess what happened to me, or that's exactly what happened to me, or I recognize this, and telling me all of these things. Matter of fact, there's a man named William Peters out in California who just wrote a book, the Crossing Over Project, Shared Crossing Project, I think it is. He wrote a book where he deals with
Oh,
shared experiences.
oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, it really was. He was one of the first ones I actually talked to, because he's like, okay, tell me what's going on. So,
Yeah, because I've known about near-death experiences since
yeah,
I was a kid.
yeah,
I never heard of shared death until recently,
yeah,
really the last year or something. How is
yeah,
that possible? Nobody's talking about these enough.
yeah. They don't, because they don't know what to call them. They don't know what it. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was real. It was more real. That experience was more real than
And
some of my
this.
everyday experiences. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to
Mm.
get back there. I really did. I wanted to get back
Yeah,
there.
but near-death experiencers, they say that too, that it was more real. Coming back here is almost dreamlike or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
and
whoa.
you get mad. I was like, I want to stay, but
Yeah.
I knew when I was there that I wasn't going to be allowed to stay. I knew that.
Did you bring back, I know sometimes near-death experiencers bring back abilities, clairvoyance or clairaudience or mediumship. All of a sudden they can see spirits. Did you bring back anything like that?
The only thing that I brought back, and I laugh about it, and my patients laugh about it, they call me a mind reader,
Oh,
because I know what someone's going to, this sounds so strange, but I know what someone's going to say before they say it. And a lot of times people don't have words, and I have their words.
gotcha. Yep.
I never,
And you didn't
ever,
have that before, huh?
never,
Okay. I'm not sure where that fits in. Claire feeling, or it's some kind of telepathy mixed with clair feeling. I know there's a word for it. I'm not thinking of it.
I just call it sit down, be quiet, and listen to me. No, it's that's why I'm by referral only now. I do not call myself a medium, because I'm not.
Okay.
I don't. What are labels anyway? Okay, I mean, I know what I do, and I know what it does for people. That's why I do,
Yeah.
what I do. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people just need their words that they can't form.
Hmm.
And for some reason, I'm able to do that. I actually call it the underside of the soul. That's what I
Oh,
call it,
oh,
because that's where we hide everything. You've heard of shadow work and all of that kind of stuff.
yes. Hmm.
Okay. And a lot of people think that shadow work is all negative, but it's not. Um, because we hide everything there that we don't want to share, even the good stuff. And if we keep it down long enough, we lose how to explain it. We lose how to feel it. We lose, everything that we would need to pull it out and look at it.
Hmm.
That's why I call it the underside of the soul. And for some reason, I'm able to get in there and find it, and find the original word that went with that.
Hmm.
I know, very strange. That's what they call me, a mind reader.
Yeah, that's interesting. But you said you are also, did you say you're working with energy?
Yeah, theta healing.
Can you spell that real quick?
THETA. Theta.
Theta healing.
Yeah. It
See,
is,
that's another new term. I don't think I've heard that one before.
I need to hook you up with Allison Snowden. She was my trainer. She's a near-death experiencer who they say would
Allison
never walk.
Snowden. That
Mhm.
name sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, she's
Um,
amazing. She was my teacher for theta healing. Theta is an energy
I thought it was
healing.
a brainwave theta, right? Brainwave.
Oh yeah, that's one of them because
Okay.
theta healing actually takes you into those waves, which then
Brainwaves.
takes you into the
Oh,
field of creation. Okay. And
oh,
there's
okay.
so much healing that can go on in theta. It's unbelievable. I combine what I do, and I also do something called temperament profiling. Temperament profiling is based on the fact that you are a very unique thought of God. Okay.
Mhm.
If you want to go to scripture, just about every major religion in the world has this, where it says, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Okay. And that's what temperament profiling does. 97% accurate. It's been around for hundreds of years,
Huh.
hundreds of years. The
Okay.
psychological community picked it up and turned it into something called a 5-B. I just call it temperament because I've known it that way, forever.
Okay.
And what that does, think about this: from the minute you're born, you're told your name, your religion, how you're going to dress, where you're going to live, where you're going to school, what
Yes.
is traditional in your family, your generational traditions, and you have to follow them. Okay. And so
Hmm.
what that basically does is strip that unique thought of God that you are. You're not allowed to be that. You have to be what everyone else wants you to be. All those
Right.
masks you have to wear.
Hmm.
So I combine temperament and theta because first I'm going to tell you this is who you were born to be. Now let's work with it, because you can take any situation that is bothering you in your life, any dysfunction, and I hate that word, but any dysfunction that you're having in your life, any issue, I can take it back to your profile and we can work through it. So you'll see why you are doing what you're doing. And then you can start to
Huh.
change it. It's magic. I mean, it's beautiful. And then we will go and do some theta energy work so that when you walk back out onto the street, you're able to keep it and realize where you're coming from.
Do you have any knowing of like the purpose of why we're here, and also your thoughts on reincarnation?
Oh, that's a good question. People ask me about that all the time. Why we are here.
I mean, it's okay if you don't.
No,
I mean,
no,
I'm just curious.
no, those are really good questions. And a lot of people answer them in very different ways. And my answer to why we are here goes back to temperament profiling. We're here to figure out exactly who we are. And the huge part of that is this thought of God that you are, because it's
Yeah.
like creation saying, I want to show the world this side of me. So bam, here comes Julie. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
That's okay.
Mhm.
That, and so our purpose is to get back to that so that we can show the world God.
I like that.
See, and reincarnation. Oh,
It's a tough one.
that's a tough one. I don't really think I believe in reincarnation, because if I believe that we are all these unique, amazing thoughts of God, that's just one thought. You understand what I'm saying? The thought of me is different from the thought of you, and
Yes.
I can't, I honestly can't put in my brain
How that would work. Because if
how
the
that
thought of
would
Julie
work.
came back again, it wouldn't be the thought of Julie. It would be the thought of Julie plus whatever the
Well,
next thought is. A
exactly,
mixture, I
exactly.
guess. I don't know. It'd
Yeah,
be,
yeah. A
I
lot
don't
of people
know.
say they believe in reincarnation because you have to learn all the lessons that you came to learn the first time and you didn't learn.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Often they say
yeah,
that.
and I just I don't buy into that. Now I know a lot of people do. I'm not going
Yeah.
to judge anybody if that's what they want to do. But for me and the hundreds of people that I have worked with through temperament and some of these other sacred word, you know, meditations and things like that, I can't fit it in. I just can't fit it in. You know, I mean,
I understand that.
I have conversations about that with people all the time because they always come up with, well, what about this and what about that and what about, and reincarnation is one of them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
It's a common question and it's a tough one. And
yeah,
I don't, I'm, I don't know how to make sense of it. I know that I don't want to come back.
me,
I hope that's okay to say that people aren't offended, but I mean, I don't have any plans to come back, but
me neither. One and done. That's it. One and done. Because I'll tell you, next time when it's my turn, I don't want to come back. I'll fight somebody to stay.
I'll fight you.
I will, I'll fight you.
So how do listeners get a hold of you and learn about some of these things you're talking about?
They can go to my website because I have a few things on there. They can email me through my website.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I answer everything. So
Oh,
it takes me a
lovely.
while. I have a PR team, but one of the things that I tell everybody is no, no, no. If these people are taking their time to email me, they
Wow.
have an important question.
Oh, that's
And so
gonna keep you busy.
yeah, it does. So yeah, but sometimes when you're sitting around hospice and it's late at night and people are sleeping or whatever,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
You're just constantly helping all these
Yeah,
people all the time.
well, honey, that's what I'm here for. I know that sounds so stupid, and I'm not trying to be the holier than thou, whatever. It's just I've learned so much, and I've been through so much, and I've seen all of my patients go through so much. My patients do the same thing. A lot of them come and work with me.
Mhm.
You know, the family, will come and work, and
Yeah. Yeah.
because they want to help people, they're
Yeah.
volunteers at hospitals. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, website, Instagram, Facebook, anybody can send me whatever, and
Okay.
I'll get back to them.
And tell me the name of your book again, if you wouldn't mind.
It's called Becoming Starlight: Surviving Grief and Mending the Wounds of Loss.
Mm, Becoming Starlight. Beautiful.
Well, that's because I became Starlight.
You felt like you became a part of it. Yeah,
I,
one with it. It's
I did.
just so beautiful and brings so much hope. And I'm gonna get teary again. I I love your I love this experience that you've had and that you're sharing with everybody and everything that you're doing. And I did say I was going to ask you if you're working on any other projects. I don't even know what you could be possibly working on, have time to work on, but are you?
I am. I'm
Okay.
actually toward the end stage of my next book, which is it's very different from Starlight.
Mm.
This one is, the tentative title is Question the Lie.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
curious. Okay, what's
Yeah.
this about?
It's a group of 9 women that I collected from all over the world. It's there comes a time in everyone's life where you finally say, enough.
Mm,
I'm
mhm,
going to live my life. Here, take this mask you gave me and take that mask, and I'm going to
mm,
rip them all off, and I'm going to live my life. I am going to live my thought of God. And that's what this book is about. It chronicles all of these women, the things they went through, and the things they went through, you name it: abandonment, betrayal. I don't know if you remember back in 2014, that the lady over in Sudan who was arrested for apostasy and thrown into a Sudanese prison. Do you remember her? She's in the book. She's
Oh,
in, she's in the book.
oh
I didn't.
my. Okay.
Oh yeah. So these are all women, and the good
Wow.
thing. Oh yeah.
Okay, you're
They,
almost done with this one?
I am. I'm so excited about it too.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
really good. Everybody opened up and shared. They all did the temperament profiling. And the
Okay.
interesting thing was they were almost exactly the same, except for just a degree. And what we're
Wow.
hoping to do is show people the difference between rising again and staying down.
Mm,
Okay. It's your
mm,
mindset. Okay. And when you know who you are and you know what you're capable of doing, nothing is going to stop you.
mm,
And we hope
mm,
women, because this is a book for women. Okay.
mm.
And we're hoping that women will pick this up and say, well, she went through this. what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with me. It's what happened to me.
Mhm.
So I can rise again and go be me. So I'm really proud of this one. I'm really proud
Wow,
of it.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really good.
Oh
Really
gosh.
good.
Um, well, we are running out of time here, but before we sign off, I want to give you the last word. If there's just anything else that you think, oh, I really wanted to share this and I didn't, or anything on your heart, last words to us to, I mean, the whole thing has given me hope, and I know the listeners are going to be filled with hope as well with this message, but anything else that you can think of that you want to say?
I normally I would just smile and say whatever, because people have to be willing to listen to what you're saying. But these last few years has really brought to the forefront the way people judge
Hmm.
other people. And my goal, especially in my community, is to tell people just stop. It's
Mm.
not our business to judge anyone. And what's really interesting is that people will judge you for the same things that they're doing, only they're keeping it quiet and under wraps. You know what I'm saying? So stop the judging and open your heart and start listening. We don't listen to each other anymore. And that causes extreme pain and isolation. Um, that's just, we've got to stop all the hurt. And most of it comes from judging.
Hmm. It's been so long. I feel like it's been so long of judging and not listening that it's
Yes,
become normal, like
yes,
normalized.
yes,
And I've forgotten the days that when it was not like that.
yeah.
So that's a a great message. It's simple, but apparently it's not easy. I'm not sure why. Just stop. Can't we just stop that? Yeah.
I would love to see people take a day or two out of their schedules and go volunteer at a hospice
Oh, yeah.
and then tell me how easy it is to judge someone or to
Yes.
not listen to someone. It doesn't matter
Mm,
what political party or color,
mm,
race, none of that
none of it. Yep.
matters. And so people who go and spend even just a few hours
Hmm.
come away with a totally different mindset,
Hmm.
totally different. It changes people's lives.
Mm. I bet. I'm sure it does. And thank you so much for everything, Sharon, for taking time today to share with the listeners. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was good. I like talking to people who understand. You most certainly understand. Not once did you go, what you just say, but thank you very much for this. It
Yeah.
helps podcasts like yours help people have hope,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and move from faith into belief into knowing.
Knowing.
And that's what we all need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone watching. This has been Julie McVey with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And I hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating interview. If you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe. And I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. See y'all next time. Bye bye.